America's and Russian and China alliance coming together to build a nuclear platform out in space to deter this incoming blast coming from a supernova. And this was the end of the world, of course. Now we're looking at it in reality. You know, it's really coming, and we've got all these nations getting their ionospheric heater, their radio frequency transmitters ready and up and running. We're watching test runs after test runs while they seem to be preparing for an end-of-the-world script.
And the new Messiah is stepping forward, and everyone will follow him now as well. You know, it's like, what is going on here? You know, many people, of course, kind of speculated that they might put Obama in this role, which on some level might be true that they're pushing that, but probably they're going to try to do it under another figure. But just as you pointed out, Freeman, it would be really interesting to see this video that they talk about on their website, and see if who this character is. We'll see what happens there.
Absolutely, and yeah, and some people are even saying Obama is Maitreya.
Well, exactly, yeah. What do you think? Do you think he's going to be?
Well, we definitely discussed Obama cloning in the coming space war on your show. You know that I've been standing strong on this whole concept that Obama is the clone of Akhenaten, and that we have Queen T as his mother, as Michelle Obama, the daughters as the daughters of Akhenaten. They are all identical. And this, of course, was the key ingredient that made me keep my eye on Apophis, because Akhenaten's religion created the concept of a serpent deity of destruction known as Apophis. So I've stood my ground on this one, taking somewhat of a beating, but also people just being completely astounded by this, because now we have, of course, Russia announcing that they need to save the world from Apophis. We have a NASA-China alliance saving us from Apophis. We have many scientists coming together. And now they're calling for this creation of an international asteroid defense agency. This is where it's coming to a head, you see, because we're ending the Columbia endeavor for the discovery of Atlantis. The space shuttles end this year. Russia says that they might be able to take over from Kazakhstan and do the launches necessary till NASA's back on its feet. In Congress, they're fighting over the keeping of the Constellation Ares program, as opposed to going to more privatized space programs such as SpaceX. Now, all of us have been funding Elon Musk's SpaceX for some time, because he is also the creator of PayPal.
Really?
Yeah. And so SpaceX now is getting ready. Well, it'll be actually next month in February. They'll be doing their first test launchings of the Dragon spacecraft.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, there we go.
We start to look at the symbolism. Now, the Dragon spacecraft is launched by the Falcon launch vehicle, which of course goes back to Horus, or Ra, who always did the battle with Apophis, right? At every night, the Ra would battle Apophis and then be able to come back out. So we have the Falcon spacecraft, which is Ra, which is Horus, and it is all launched by the Merlin engine. So, SpaceX is not deviating from their symbolism at all.
Oh, there you go.
So we have this battle. We have this battle right now as the privatized pioneers of entrepreneurism, which, if you believe any of that, are trying to get their space vehicle up, while the Ares of NASA is having so many issues. It's having vibrations on the launch pad that they can't get the Ares rocket to launch properly.
Yeah.
And it's curious because Ares takes 2 rockets. There will be the Ares, I believe it's the Ares 1, that would launch humans, and then the Ares 5, which was slightly larger, quite a bit larger than the Ares 1, to launch the equipment. But I do believe that SpaceX is going to win out in this situation, and that it's because what we're looking at now, and this is where my earlier research becomes so important, is the signs of allegiance of the Illuminati that I have been tracking through corporate logos.
Yes.
And when you start to take that into effect, you realize that Nazism is not a nation, it's a mindset. When you realize that the occult nature of Freemasonry is not a nation, it's a mindset. Freemasonry rules in most of the major nations. It is the world's largest fraternity. And within Freemasonry, now you'll find that all of our NASA astronauts were Freemasons. You'll find that most of our presidents in America were Freemasons. And you'll find that almost every major corporation founded was a Freemason. You know, RCA, McDonald's, you pick it, Walmart, Target. You know, you can go and track that these were all founded by Freemasons. Then you look at their corporate logos and you see that they all interrelate and they are signs of allegiance to one another. So the point being that we are moving into a corporatocracy. Corporatocracy, however you would put that.
Yeah.
Some have been calling it communitarianism.
Yes.
Basically, it's fascism. And what the problem is that we're still stuck in this mental state where we believe in nations dealing with nations. And that simply isn't the case, and hasn't been, or if ever has been. When we look back into the world wars, we see Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt sitting all together. Of course, all 33rd degree Freemasons. So this is not a national issue, and it's the same with this new spacefaring race that we're watching rise.
Freeman, I just got to point this out because
Sure.
I remember now when you brought up the Dragon and that whole the privatization of the space industry. We have, of course, Sir Richard Branson on the other end of this as well with his Virgin Galactic fleet. And interesting enough, they are called his two rockets that they've been working on are called the White Knight. So you have the Knight battling the Dragon, if you will, then in one way. And I mean, White Knight 2 is apparently named after VMS Eve. And the VMS in this case, the prefix stands for Virgin Mothership. How do you like that?
Yes. And let's not leave old Arnold Schwarzenegger out of this picture either. He's always been one that's been strongly behind space exploration and cloning. If we all remember him from The Sixth Day. Arnold Schwarzenegger came out and was saying, yes, spacecraft 2, or what do they call that? The Virgin spacecraft.
The White Knight?
Right. Well, they were calling it. Sorry, I was trying to look it up, but I have so much Space Force news. They were calling it Spaceship 2, and but so Arnold Schwarzenegger was the strong proponent for this whole Spaceship 2. He went out, and what we're talking about is Virgin Galactic.
Yes.
And so he's been pushing this heavily, just as he was pushing stem cell research back in 2005. So now let's just add to this that Obama just brought forth an executive order bringing 10 council regional governors together under his command, half of which will be selected by Obama himself. And they have this 10 regional governors now coming together to unify the United States. Yeah, Spaceship 2 is what he was calling it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so now back in 1972, I think it was, Henry Kissinger getting together with Richard Nixon and stating that we needed to break the United States up into 10 regions that would then be under the command of the United Nations. And this was one of the major conspiracy theories back when I began being a conspiracy theorist, was that there were going to be these 10 regions in America run by these 10 regional governors, and that we'd have 2 new capitals, one being in Denver and one being in Atlanta. And now Obama has just passed or pushed the executive order creating this very 10 regional governorship.
Do you want to
and
tie?
I have a feeling.
Do you want to tie in the biblical prophecies in that too? Then maybe.
Oh, you're talking about the crowns.
The 10, yeah, exactly. The 10 horns, or whatever you want to call that. 10 leaders, or 10 crowns, or yeah.
Yeah, I steer away from that a little bit because, you know, it's too hard for me to say what the Bible's really talking about. But yeah, absolutely. That was part of the whole thing. That was part of the whole conspiracy theory back when I began. And of course, you often come to conspiracy theory through the Christian Patriot movement.
Yes.
And they were the first ones talking about all of this, and absolutely, they were the ones that clued me into the understanding of these 10 regions, and also the idea about the creation of a homeland security, which is what led me to predict 9/11. So, you know, that was the very reason I was tracking that date, because the Homeland Security bill came up every October 1st throughout the whole Clinton era. But it was when they forced the W into office, as I also predicted, that I knew that would be the year. And so I ran around like Chicken Little saying, hey, there's going to be a major terrorist attack on 9/11. Don't freak out. It's all for your